let's get rid of the spreadsheet and let's get into the 21st century.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Industrial Security Podcast. My name is Nate Nelson. I'm here with Andrew Ginter, Vice President of Industrial Security at Waterfall Security Solutions. He's going to introduce the subject and the guest of today's show. Andrew, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Nate. Our guest today is Bill Lawrence. He is the Chief Information and Security Officer at securitygate.io. And his topic today is a little cryptic. It's Kill the Spreadsheet.
Okay, here's you and Bill Lawrence.
Hello, Bill, and thanks for joining us. Before we get started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and about securitygate.io?
Well, thank you so much for having me on your program, Andrew. It's really quite an honor. I started as a computer science major a long time ago, and then I went into naval aviation. So I spent most of my naval career getting to fly and fight in F-14 Tomcats and F-18 Super Hornets. And looking back at it, I didn't realize what a compliance regime I was operating in. We had very large tomes created by test pilots on how to safely operate your aircraft. They're called Naval Air Training and Operating Procedures Standardization, or NATOPS. Critical systems, emergencies, limitations, getting aircraft off aircraft carriers and then getting them safely back on. Then you throw in dropping bombs and dogfighting. Well, if you didn't manage operational risk well, you died, and you maybe took some other people with you. Still, that was a lot of fun, doing critical infrastructure destruction. But everybody has to grow up sometime. And I finished my time in the Navy back at the Naval Academy, and I got to freshen my skills and teach cybersecurity to the midshipmen there. After that, I got picked up by NERC, the North American Electric Reliability Corporation, for project management and that cyber understanding that I had. And that's when I got immersed in the world of critical infrastructure protection, which is definitely the other side of the coin from destruction. It was also, CIP there, critical infrastructure protection, is not capitalized. I say that because while NERC has the CIP standards and compliance authorities, when I started working at the Electricity Information Sharing and Analysis Center and eventually leading it, the common refrain we heard from all the asset owners and operators in the electric utilities was the need to share cyber and physical security information without the ramifications coming from the compliance regimes there. So I really received a wonderful education from those asset owners and operators, from government scientists and officials, Department of Energy, Department of Homeland Security, Natural Resources Canada, Public Safety Canada, the incredible national laboratories out there, as well as security vendors of amazing technologies, like yourself, Andrew. You keep giving back to the community, and that's really great. I ran and I grew GridX and GridSecCon with distributed play exercises, executive tabletops, gatherings of like-minded security folks together. And now I'm at SecurityGate, and what we offer is a SaaS platform for OT and ICS risk management. As the CISO here, I lead the team to protect our crown jewels, protect the customer data, our platform, but I also get to keep talking to and learning from the experts out there in the field with cyber and operational technology, and then share back as much as I can. So I continue my sense of service to others, helping people better defend their organizations, especially people operating the critical infrastructure, which is vital to our nations and our way of life.
So, Nate, just a word on Bill's introduction there. He mentioned compliance. He mentioned security. He was, the chief security officer at NERC. NERC has, in a sense, two branches. NERC is the North American Electric Reliability Corporation. They're responsible for the cybersecurity of the North American power grid. The two pieces of NERC. One piece is, the piece that enforces regulations. They develop and enforce regulations. The ones I'm most familiar with are critical infrastructure protection. This is the cyber regulations, but they do everything else, like, the stability of frequency signaling, and they do vegetation management for high voltage power lines. They do a lot of regulations. And if you break the regulations, they levy fines. Okay, so they're an enforcement agency. There's another agency. It's called the EISAC, the Electric Sector Information Sharing and Analysis Center. And this is a voluntary group of electric sector utilities where they share information about attacks. And, the two sort of branches of NERC are a little bit at odds. Because if you share information about an attack in the EISAC, there's sort of a lingering doubt that the utilities have, is this going to be used against me in the compliance part of NERC? And so there's always been a very strict separation between the security-focused information sharing and analysis center, the ISAC, and the compliance-focused part of NERC SIP. And over the course of his tenure at NERC, Bill had responsibilities in both parts of the organization, but where I worked with him most closely in the past was in his role as the head of the EISAC. So thanks for that. The title of the episode is about spreadsheets, kill the spreadsheet. What spreadsheets? What problem are you solving here?
Yeah, kill those spreadsheets. Organizations need to know where they stand, know how that security posture is changing, know how it compares to the desired or the required posture. You need to collaborate to get the right answers to the hard questions about risk because nobody has all the answers. So you got to get those SMEs, the subject matter experts who are closest to the risk, to get those answers without taking huge chunks of time away from their day jobs. And those are usually protecting those very OT assets that we talk about. And then also, spreadsheets won't give you that single pane of glass for a CISO to look at risk across departments, across facilities, across the organization. And then also, organizations are sometimes, as you've said, they're stuck with paralysis by analysis. They don't know which framework to pick, or even if they do, they don't know how to create their own regime and spreadsheet to match what they need to do and then track it and then put it in SharePoint or email or whatever. So let's get rid of the spreadsheet and let's get into the 21st century.
So yes, spreadsheets have issues, but can you go a little deeper? What is the solution here? I mean, you mentioned a single pane of glass. Is this a SOC we're talking about?
So security operations centers definitely have their place in the world where they're looking at the technology that they're trying to protect and get different layers over that are trying to make sense that a human can understand. And yes, SIMs and SOARs have definitely their place in the world. What we're talking about here is, the SecurityGate platform is a SaaS platform that automates ICS risk management. So you start with the entities and facilities you want to look over. You choose your framework of choice, whether it's NERC SIP, NIST CSF, the recently updated C2M2 from the Department of Energy, the TSA Critical Pipeline Cybersecurity Assessment Framework, which, oh, by the way, when TSA rolled that out, they gave 30 days to their asset owners and operators to answer that one. And the product team did a great job of enabling that in the platform on a really quick basis. And you can even roll your own type of framework, which several of our customers have done over the years, built up their own risk management, and we're able to implement that into the platform. So then it walks you and the team, like I said, the SMEs closest to the risk, through that discovery process, ask the questions, they provide the platform with the answers. You avoid the endless meetings, you avoid all the milestones, and it provides that dashboard with that pane of glass we talked about, comparing all of the facilities and all the risks with scoring, as well as automated reports for risk assessments and remediations. So it's not just something that's going to sit on your shelf. You can take actions based on the recommendations from the platform there to reduce your risk there. And it's all in one place with no spreadsheets.
Andrew, you guys have used the term single pane of glass a couple times now. What does that mean?
Single pane of glass is sort of a buzzword in the industry. It usually means a security operations center. So you're looking at a room full of, let's say a dozen security analysts. Each of the analysts has, 5 or 6 big screens in front of them. They're looking at intrusion alerts. They're looking at security alerts. They're managing security for a large organization. And they're at some point you've got sort of one little screen that has a summary saying, here is the status, the security status for the entire organization. Here, these 2 sites are under attack and the other ones seem clean.
Andrew, I'm not entirely familiar with the space we're occupying here. What problem are we trying to solve here?
So yeah, the single pane of glass that Bill's talking about is a single pane of glass for risk, not our current attack status. And what's that look like? you don't get alerts for risk. It's a, let's step back a minute. Sort of the standard in the industry for a long time has been a tool called CSET. This is put out by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. It's free of charge. It's the cybersecurity evaluation tool focused on in industrial control systems. The CSET tool will... You pick which standard you want to be evaluated against. Let's say NERC CIP. There's 130 odd requirements in NERC CIP. You say, okay, I want my site here to be evaluated, and it'll say, what's the first? So the first requirement is you have to identify who's responsible for security in your organization. Have you done that? Yes. Name of the person goes here. Okay, the next question, your next requirement is you have to have defined a security program. Do you have a document for that? And it walks you through these requirements and asks you for, have you done this? Asks you to record evidence that you've done this so that you can put a report together saying, here is the degree to which this site complies with that standard. And the CSAT tool has been around for a very long time. It supports a ridiculous number of standards. But it has some limitations. I haven't looked at it in a couple of years. I went to download it the other day, just to refresh my memory. The thing is a gigabyte of download. It's massive, and when you install it, it has to install locally on my laptop. And when it installs, it wants to install an IIS, an Internet Information System server. This is the Microsoft web server. Do I want a web server running on my laptop? I really don't. It's a bit heavyweight, and in my experience, it is focused in a sense on smaller organizations or on single sites within an organization. You can apply it many times for many sites and then try and pull it all together yourself. This is the spreadsheets of information flying around analogy. It's a powerful tool, but scaling is a bit of an issue with it. So I've seen a demo of your tool, Bill, and the closest analogy that struck me when I saw it was CSET. Can you talk about how your tool differs from the DHS CSET tool?
Well, I too took a look at the DHS tool there with CSET, and you're right, it runs on a laptop. We took one that we could protect and install it, and I played around with it. Yeah, I tell you what, I mean, they have an impressive number of sectors and frameworks available to choose from. But having it on one laptop, having it, all the questions be answered really bodes itself to kind of one person who knows it all, filling it out for the organization or building the network diagrams with the tools that they provide. They answer the questions, and then, the report is generated there based on those answers. Where, one of the ways that is different with SecurityGate's platform is we can truly scale for organizational complexity and for far bigger enterprises. No one person knows it all, so you need to collaborate. You need that scale, and many people need to be tapped to contribute. And several folks using our platform are global enterprises. So just imagine trying to either get a meeting together or send a survey out with the questions from the framework that another tool would use. This eliminates all that. And another thing too, with the SecurityGate platform, there's a central repository for this information, and it's sensitive. These are the crown jewels of your risk and control sets that you're using out there to protect your enterprise. Well, that repository is protected. We've got not only bring your own encryption capabilities, but everybody who can log in can use two-factor authentication to access the platform to get to this. So you're not sending around the spreadsheet to 12 or 20 people, doing it in via email, or like we mentioned the challenges there with SharePoint. But then providing that path to remediation at the end with accountability for the folks that are supposed to do those actions to make the corrections. And doing that on one laptop, I think is a challenge.
So that's interesting. I mean, your title is Chief Information and Security Officer. It's unusual for us to have a CISO on the show from a security vendor. I mean, most of the CISOs I talk to are, CISOs at power companies, at oil and gas companies. So can you talk about your role? What do you do at securitygate.io?
So as the Chief Information Security Officer, I am responsible for thinking about the crown jewels of the company. And when I started coming on board SecurityGate, it was readily apparent to all of us, and it was already being done in the company, but you have to protect the sensitive customer data. The people that you're working with, the things that they're aggregating, the artifacts that they're collecting to prove compliance, protecting, of course, SecurityGate's networks, intellectual property, everything kind of rolls up into the what my team and I do on a daily basis. But if you focus there, like you mentioned, the customer data, a lot of the things that we're doing with the customers and taking them through the frameworks and getting the risk assessments accomplished, that's at a pretty high level. It can drill down because, of course, like we mentioned, the SMEs have that understanding of the risk and they're closest to that and they can get the answers. Where we've built in special protections into the platform is around all the artifacts that they can collect, the IP addresses, network settings, firewall settings, anything that they see a need to collect into the platform. You can bring your own key in terms of encryption and wrap that protection around it so that even we running the platform at SecurityGate are unable to see that if we don't have your key. That gives us the ability to better protect the data for the customers, help them do that. It's not a big lift to enable that level of protection. And then also I mentioned earlier on, two-factor authentication is a great way to ensure that the correct people are getting access to the data at the right time and nobody else.
Waterfall Security Solutions is the OT security company. If you're wondering what is the difference between a unidirectional gateway and a firewall, or a so-called unidirectional firewall, then you'll be interested in Waterfall's latest ebook. Firewalls are used throughout both industrial networks and enterprise networks. But best practice demands something stronger, something truly unidirectional at the IT-OT interface. To see the difference that unidirectional security makes, please download the free ebook, Firewalls versus Unidirectional Gateways, from the Waterfall website under the Resources menu.
So that makes sense. I mean, what I heard Bill say is that his tool is asking you questions about your security posture. The answers that you're giving may be sensitive. They're exposing information about your security posture. You may be uploading evidence to the tool, things like, log files, maybe firewall configurations. This is sensitive information. So Bill talked about a feature in the product to say, if you're going to upload evidence, you can optionally encrypt the upload before it goes up so that the platform can't see the evidence you've uploaded because it's that sensitive. NERC SIP, for example, I know that the standard forbids sharing certain kinds of information outside the organization. And here we have a tool outside the organization where you have to upload some of this stuff in order to make best advantage of the tool, in order to make yourself more secure. So the tool, encrypted or not, is managing some very sensitive customer information. This is why SecurityGate, as a tool vendor, this is why SecurityGate needs a CISO. This is why they need Bill.
And that gets to another thing I've been wondering. When an organization, adopts SecurityGate, is this a one-time affair or a long-term solution? Are you just sort of answering the questions that you're answering about compliance, then you're done and you can take your data off of their systems? Or is there a reason why you would need to have it around long-term such that, you need all these encryption services and all this security to make sure that you can't get hacked through?
I didn't ask that question, and so I'm guessing here, but my guess is that you're going to have to leave some information on the system for a period of time, for a couple of reasons. The obvious is that if you've got a large organization with multiple sites and a limited number of security experts, you might have to rotate your experts between the sites. It might take a fair bit of time to get all of the data on your corporate security posture in place so you can do a report of all that data and say, how am I doing? So it might just take months, and the information has to sit there in the system for those months. Another thing is that nobody does one of these security assessments and put their feet up and says, there, I'm done. Cross my fingers that nothing changes. Typically, you repeat these assessments, annually, every 18 months, something like this. And you're going to want to report comparing your current risk posture to the previous risk posture and the one before that to see, are there trends? Are we improving? Do we have some problems, some hot spots that we need to fix? So for all these reasons, I can imagine that the information would stay there probably a little bit longer rather than do it once and erase it. So this all sounds useful, sort of in general. Can you give us an example? Can you pick one of your customers? I mean, don't name names if you can't, but this is a security podcast. Can you let us know, an example, what somebody did before they engaged with you folks, what they did after, how they reacted? How did it go?
Sure. Company you might have heard of, Chevron. They were really looking for a partner to help them do a few things. They wanted to remove inconsistencies in reporting metrics and those methods that they use to find and measure risk. Wanted to reduce the time and cost associated with these cybersecurity assessments. Wanted to limit the impact the assessments were having on operational teams, tearing them away from their day's work. And then also implement scalable processes that would allow for consistent maturity improvements along the way. So Chevron was able to decentralize the efforts, get each facility owner around the globe to run their piece of the program. Now they're being managed in the same platform, using the same scalable processes, and they got a couple of great things out of there. Standardization. So they standardized reporting and automated processes for the assessments. So they brought consistency to the results, and they can measure those maturity improvements easier. Cross-company visibility. All the stakeholders had the benefits of being able to understand risk and measure program effectiveness with a high-level view, as well as zooming into details and views of each facility. And then that reduced impact on the teams that they wanted. It was greatly narrowed. The teams were able to avoid meetings, complete the assessment questions at their own pace, their own schedule, and they reduced the assessment times by over 57%. So the leadership, they confirmed they got the right information, they got the stuff they needed to make the decisions, and they trusted the data because it was coming from their SMEs. So COVID threw a curveball there in early 2020. It provided another use case test of Chevron's deployment of the platform. And because they were able to conduct their assessments remotely, they didn't miss a beat. And the entire world saw, the cyber attacks continuing to increase. One of the quotes from a ICS cybersecurity advisor there at Chevron said, "Our program would have completely shut down if we did not have the automation from SecurityGate.io." So we're pretty proud of that one.
So that's a really good endorsement. I mean, but let me dig a little deeper. Chevron's a very big company. I don't know if they have any offshore platforms, but when you say standardize, is it sort of one size fits all? Because, an offshore platform is a very different security animal from a pipeline, which extends for 1,000 kilometers, which is, again, a very different security animal from a refinery with hundreds of people driving into the site every day to come to work. Can you talk about that diversity? Is that an issue here?
Well, one of the ways that the SecurityGate platform can handle those different types of assets being owned and operated is by the mapping of the control sets and the frameworks together, so that you can ask the type of questions that you want based on each framework, or in Chevron's case, able to build the customized modules around the organization types that they want. And then within the platform, that mapping is done. It feeds up to that dashboard, and you're able to not only look across risk with a focus on the industrial control systems, but bring in any of the framework questions that had to do with the IT security that's around those OT systems. So it gives people in the same room the ability to talk risk across IT and OT, as well as understand where the remediations need to be made to get a better posture for risk and security in their organization, globally or drill down by facility.
Well, that's all good. But let me ask you, what's the future look like? Are you done, or are you guys still building stuff?
Well, things are fantastic. I'm really enjoying my time here. The company is about 4 years old. Over half the company were former assessors and practitioners with a total of 75 years of experience with OT processes. So really that ICS cybersecurity is in our DNA. We've built pretty much all that I've described here, and even some more that I'm sure we'll touch on. But there's strong industry interest from industries that are heavily regulated, like we talked about with electricity. And then there's some that are in the crosshairs, like oil and gas these days. And the feedback we have is it really helps with their problems, getting their arms around the risk assessments they want to do across their organizations and streamlining those processes. The automated reporting, driving the remediation. It's no longer you do an assessment, put it on a shelf. You can see how you can focus investments and get better over time and drive that stuff there. But we keep adding more and more frameworks. There's OT and IT, NIST, CSF, ISO, C2M2, SOC 2, ONG, DFARS, CMMC, BIMCO, maritime. We got a custom import wizard too, which we were talking about a little earlier there. If a company has created its own sets of controls or picked something from this framework or something from that, or maybe it's maybe it's regulated and it's got one that's it has to be compliant to, but then that doesn't quite answer the mail across the entire organization. There is a very streamlined way to make that available and digitized within the platform, so that people don't have to just completely get rid of what they've created. We can import that and move on from there.
So you talked about, continuing development. Can you give us some clue? What's coming? What's in your pipeline?
Something I didn't hit on yet, and another differentiator from the other tool that you mentioned is integrations. We're working with a lot of partners. Nozomi, for one, great depth in the ICS space. We have ways to actually get the rich data that they generate and put it into our platform and bring that out, and have, again, that high level picture, but able to drill down by facility to understand more about the risk.
Okay. Well, thank you, Bill. This has been great. Before I let you go, is there a thought you'd like to leave with our listeners?
Thank you, Andrew. This has really been a good time, and I enjoy talking to you every time we meet. The people who listen to your podcast, the people that you and I have, been around, understand that the threat out there is real, is growing, and it's not going to stop. So the only way that we can take care of these things are understanding ourselves better, and using that information to drive the protections that we want to put into place. So, back in my critical infrastructure destruction days, a quote that was hammered into me was from John Paul Jones, basically the father of the U.S. Navy. And, those who will not risk cannot win. And, that comes from a fighting man who took measured risks, even ones that some people thought were foolhardy, but he won quite spectacularly time and time again. And looking out at today's geopolitical landscape and how with cyber you can hold every asset at risk, especially OT, I would say those who don't own their risk cannot win. So tackle your ICS risk head on. We want to help you, and we'll all be better for it by protecting our critical infrastructure.
And with that, Andrew, how about a last word from you?
I'll just sort of echo Bill's comments. Risk assessments are important. They're part of robust cybersecurity. You got to know how much trouble you're in order to act on that. There's lots of different frameworks and standards out there to assess different kinds of industrial sites against. The DHS CSET tool is a good tool. It meets a need. It walks you through the assessment process, but it doesn't scale. And so it's clear that there's a role for a tool like the SecurityGate.io tool. Lets you assign standards and requirements to sites, lets you assign questions and tasks in the assessments to different users, he used the term SMEs, subject matter experts. Lets you pull it all together into a single comprehensive view of OT risk in the enterprise. This can be expensive for organizations to do with the existing tools, and it's important to do. We can only optimize what we measure, and we want to optimize our risk posture. So we have to measure it, and we need that risk measurement and that risk reporting role to be as efficient as we can make it. Hence the opportunity for improving the efficiency of that process with the SecurityGate solution. So good job to them.
All right, then to wrap things up here, thanks to Bill Lawrence for speaking with you, Andrew. And as always, Andrew, thank you for speaking with me.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Nate.
This has been the Industrial Security Podcast from Waterfall. Thanks to everyone out there listening.